This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
You have a dream, but when you wake up from your dream, something just seems different, and things just start to synchronize. Things just connect and make sense from an outside point of view. So this is why there are no such thing as
what quantum states allow for is much more complex information to be encoded into a single bit. Regular computer bit is either a 1 or a 0, on or off. A quantum state can be much more complex than that because, as we know, things can be both particle and wave at the same time, and the uncertainty around quantum states allows us to encode more information into a much smaller computer.
So, Wagwan, it's been a while since I've shown my face in any sort of media or any format. I hope you're okay. I hope you had a great day. I hope life is treating you well. I hope your family is treating you well. And I hope that you feel welcomed and blossoming in whatever career, whatever path you're doing, whatever path you're trying to walk in. And I hope that, you see things better than you did the last day. This is Eric Ladizinski. I took so long saying that name. He was speaking in an interview in, 2013! That was 9 years ago, by the way. Anyway, he's the chief scientist for the world's first commercially available quantum computer called D-Wave. You might have heard of them. He was speaking about the possible capabilities of what this quantum-based computer could do. And his insights were,
the idea is, the basic idea behind quantum computing is if I can have single objects live out many possibilities simultaneously, what if I could have computing elements, the same physical hardware, behave as if it was many pieces of hardware, or one processor operating like it's an incredible number of processors operating in parallel, doing different parts of a very difficult problem. But the thing is, the way parallel processing is done today, you actually have to build physically new processors, right? But what if one processor could behave like 10 to the 500th processors operating in parallel? It staggers the mind, right? So he was giving this talk, and David Deutsch, who was sort of the progenitor of quantum computing, he's a big fan of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. He came up with this idea by saying, what if you could access all these parallel realities and do different parts of a complex computation in them simultaneously, and somehow extract information from the multiverse, right? This was an amazing thing. You're harnessing a whole new resource in nature. You're technologically accessing these parallel universes, and this is something that human beings have not been able to do, heretofore. So I went to this lecture, had my mind blown, and at that moment decided that's what I'm going to do.
quantum mechanics are weird. The concept of the quantum world stems around atoms being in different states at the same time until they are observed in the physical world. Atoms were originally visualized to be particles such as electrons circling around the nucleus. But in reality, atoms behave like waves with a different wave pattern for every element. Then there's quantum particles that pop in and out of existence when they interact with matter in this dimension, meaning that they theoretically teleport from one point in time and space to another, which goes against classical models of reality. This opens up an array of plausible theories, such as the existence of parallel universes and dimensions.
To put it the way David Deutsch, the progenitor of this field, quantum computation will be the first technology that allows a useful task to be formed in collaboration between parallel universes.
Yeah, so the last time Jordy was here in 2013, he was the only guy in the world, he and his company D-Wave, the only guy in the world making quantum computers. We didn't understand what quantum computers were, and I'm not sure I understand it now, but he was getting 10 million bucks a machine and selling them to some of the most important organizations in the world, like NASA, like the CIA, like Mr. Bezos. And so you gave a talk, and I looked at the talk in preparation for this thing, and I still don't quite understand what a quantum computer is.
Geordie Rose co-founded D-Wave with Eric Ladzinski. Speaking in 2017, he described the very technical delights of what computers may do in the future, which are quantum.
But there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. Paying attention.
On the 9th of September 2022, the monarch of the UK, Elizabeth II, died, and her death was announced nationwide as well as worldwide. A mere day after swearing in a new Prime Minister who shares her name. Mad coincidence. Just when we thought 2022 couldn't be any more eventful. After a war between two of the most important countries in terms of energy and food supplies during a period of rising inflation triggered by sharp mini crowns. Mad coincidence. And when the crown moves on to the temple of Charles III, we will have a monarch who has direct affiliation with mysteriously benevolent non-governmental organizations who have alumni imprinted in the very governments that we cannot help but trust with our ignorance.
But there are two countries in the world now in which the young global leaders have emerged. Tell us just a bit about that in terms of the governance.
Yes, actually, this notion to integrate young leaders is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. And I have to say, when I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
It's in the streets.
But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Mad coincidence. Seeking to change their lives environmentally, digitally, and biologically. So what does this all have to do with dreams and quantum particles? Well, a recent study showed that brain patterns of humans participating in a game are synced, meaning that the brain frequencies are connected without physical contact. Perhaps our interactions with each other on a small scale can have much bigger impacts than what meets the five senses. We may all come from different backgrounds, cultures, countries, and even religions, and look and feel on a wide spectrum. But all colors come from the same source, just like life itself. And that, fellow souls, is no coincidence.
A double rainbow broke through the clouds over Buckingham Palace shortly after the Queen's passing was announced. The rainbow could be seen over major landmarks across the Capitol, including Elizabeth Tower and